cuts through the haze, confronts the darkness in these end times days. A single match struck against the fear, hope ignites, drawing redemption near. Can you feel the tremble in the ground, a buried heartbeat making sound?
Across the panorama, this dead awaken, change begins from broken places, hope unpins.
Yeah, we all live in dead America. One healing spark starts the fire, burning brighter, taking higher.
Today we're speaking with Adriene Caldwell. She is the author of Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines. Adriene, could you please introduce yourself? Let people know just a little more about you, please.
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you, Ed, for having me on your show. It's a privilege to be here with your audience and with you. I am Adriene Caldwell. I did write a book. It's Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines. And it's the story of my life from early childhood to early 20s. And this will serve as our trigger warnings as well as a foundation for who I am. So during that time, I was either the witness to or the victim of sexual assault of a young girl, the drowning death of another child, emotional and physical abuse, extreme poverty, mental illness, homelessness, horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, suicide, and incest. So there is not a lot that I can't relate to in one way or another. I have, during that time, well, my entire life, the hits actually kept on coming, even after my early 20s. I don't include it in the book. There may be a book 2 out there one day, not sure. But yeah, my life was hell. And I made it through, and I'm on the other side of it. And I am writing my book. I am sharing my story for anyone out there who is feeling just lost and alone, and like nobody understands what they're going through and nobody can relate. I want to put myself out there to kind of be a beacon, if you will, if that doesn't sound too snobby or pretentious, really. If I can go through everything that I went through and end up with this amazing life that I never in a million years could have imagined for myself, then you can make it too. It is possible. It's hard. It's brutal. It is a struggle, but you can go from just surviving to thriving. It is possible. And I want to put that out there. So that's kind of me. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's fascinating, the content that you put out there. It's just in your face. You give reports, you give notes, you give the inside look at the reality of going through the system. And really, I'm fascinated about your unique experience going through that system. Could you tell us more about what you perceive of the systematic failures that you witnessed going through the system?
Absolutely. The failures were epic. I'll start by saying that my schizophrenic, physically abusive mother, my last beating was with a wooden dowel rod, the thing you hang your clothes on in the closet. That was my last beating from her. And I've never had a nightmare about her. However, the woman that I was placed with when I entered Children's Protective Services, the foster mother, and in my book, I refer to her as TBFH, the witch from hell. I've had nightmares about her my entire adult life, including within the last 3 months. I've had nightmares about her. A couple of statistics that I like to put out regarding foster care, and this is very close to my heart. In most states, I can't say all, I don't know for sure, but in most states, when you're a ward of the state until you're 18, you're able to attend any public, state, in-state university, and they waive your tuition and fees. And now, not only do you get to go to college for free, they actually help with your room and board and your meal plan. There are funds allocated to that. So, and it doesn't have to be university. It can be a vocational program. Go to school for cosmetology or electrician, plumber, what have you. And less than 3% of kids turning 18, getting out of foster care, less than 3% take advantage of that. And that's just such a missed opportunity. Another stat, prisoners, 1 in 5, roughly 20% of our U.S. prison population, 1 in 5, are former foster youth. Or they've been in foster care, 1 in 5 prisoners. And finally, 7 out of 10 females will have had a child by the time they're 21 years old. 7 out of 10. So not only are we failing our children, these children that have been entrusted to the public, to the state for their welfare, not only are we failing them, we are setting their children up for failure as well by not ensuring that the 18-year-old goes to vocational school or the college, by not ensuring that they're going to have tangible life skills so that they can have a profession and not rely on the already strained and broken social safety net that's meant to be in place. It's there, but it is so flawed. It failed me epically. My foster parent, the witch from hell, TBFH, and it's B. I'm just not saying that word. And I never use her first name in the book. I never give her a name. I refuse to even give her that level of control in my life. But the foster girls, we had to sit on the floor like animals. We weren't allowed to sit on the furniture. And we ate separately from her family. It was the foster parent, her 2 daughters, and her granddaughter. We weren't allowed to eat with them. And we had separate food, like they would have the steak and baked potatoes, and we'd be eating tuna casserole, hamburger helper. We had separate dishes and silverware. And the house, and there were between 4 and 7 girls at any point in the home. The master bathroom had a half bath, a sink and a toilet, and that was the only toilet we were allowed to use. The main bathroom, which we had to use to shower in, we were not allowed to use their toilet. So, and at the end of the showers, the last foster girl to shower for the evening, she had to clean the tub with bleach before any member of the foster family would use the tub. So we were systematically dehumanized and just made to feel so insignificant, so just like we were less than human. We were certainly less than the foster parents. And the woman, I generally believe people are good. They don't set out to hurt people and on this hidden agenda of being mean. But I've never been able to explain or understand her behavior. For example, one time I was trying on swimsuits and I came out and I showed her and she looked me up and down and said, "Oh, your thighs are fat. I'm surprised you haven't started throwing up to lose weight." Those were her words. While in her care, I was put on medication to treat my depression. And for me at the time, at 15 years old, I thought that meant that I was defective, that I was broken. And I came back from that appointment and I took my razor apart and I scratched my wrists. It wasn't life-threatening. I don't want to go into the details, but when she saw the marks, she looked at me and she said, "You didn't even do it right. You're supposed to cut along the vein, not across." Those were her words to me. So this woman traumatized me. And I was in special foster care. I was in what's called therapeutic foster care. It's for kids who have additional needs. Yes, exactly.
That's kind of crazy. That you know, in your materials, it came up that you were faced with socioeconomic class setting in a foster where you felt a disruption because of the separation in class. Is this what you're referring to?
Partly, but before I went to her home, I was placed with my best friend's family. And I went from abject poverty. When my mother and I and my brother, we lived in government housing. We were the only white family out of the entire apartment complex. And it was a very large apartment complex. And just abject poverty. We couldn't afford a vacuum. So my mother, we were poor, but we were not dirty. My mother would sweep the carpet. Everything got bleached. But we were so poor, and food stamps don't cover paper goods, so we used wash rags instead of toilet paper. We washed our clothes in the bathtub and hung them up to dry there because we couldn't afford to go to the laundromat. We used baking soda because we couldn't afford toothpaste and food stamps didn't cover it. So, and that was just the being poor side of my life. My mother was schizophrenic and physically abusive. She beat me regularly. And that did not impact my life negatively to the same degree as the witch from hell. So, but back to the question, my best friend in 6th grade, my brother and I, my mother relinquished her rights and she basically released us so that we could be adopted into my best friend's family. And coming from never having been to a restaurant where a waiter comes and takes your order to a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 2 Lexus cars in the garage, just affluent, upper middle class. They weren't uber wealthy, but they were upper middle class. And in my psychiatric evaluation, which I do include at the end of my book, at the end of Unbroken, I do include the psychiatric evaluation from when I was 13. There is a quote that says basically that I am in an unfamiliar territory in almost every situation I encounter. So, and that was absolutely true. I did not know how to fit into their world. And it wasn't obvious because in school, there's structure and there are rules, and I thrived because I knew the rules and I followed them. And school was my escape. It's how I got out of the being so poor that we lived off of eggs and potatoes, because we couldn't afford meat. It was my refuge from my schizophrenic, abusive mother. So I thrived and did very well in academic setting, but take me out and put me in a family system that I've never seen a functional family. I don't know the dynamics of a mother father. I don't have a father. There's never been a father in my life. So you take me out of one environment and drop me into this environment where I have no idea what's expected of me or what to say. And there were two sons in the family besides the girl that I was best friends with. And the nickname that they gave me, behind my back, of course, was Ice Queen. They called me Ice Queen because whenever I was with them, I was essentially silent, and it came off as if I thought I was better than them or, being snobby. What they didn't understand was I didn't understand how to behave or what to do or what to say. I was uncomfortable the entire time because I had never witnessed that before. I didn't know. So
let me barge in there for a moment, if you will, Adriene. As a person that's been through it, would you say the living environment that was best suited for you, provided by the system, would it have been in like a group home setting with other girls, or through one of these homes, foster care homes, with you living with another family? Because I see there's a difference. There would be structure that's identifiable in the group home setting, but not so much in a family setting where you have to guess, per se, like you're saying, what is my boundaries? And it would be like you're being freshly born into the family and you've got to really figure all of that stuff out again. So with all of that being said, what setting would you say is the best setting when you have to remove children from a setting like that?
it's a great question. That's a great point. I had never thought about that before. The idea, we were homeless the summer after fourth grade. We lived in the Salvation Army in downtown Houston. And that's why when I was in foster care, I opted to go to the Therapeutic foster home instead of a girls' home. And I was familiar with what it was like living in a shelter, I was familiar with that environment. And I mistakenly thought that I was going to be placed in a family that was like the family that initially took my brother and me in. We were only with them for about a month. It was while CPS was getting the paperwork done. But I thought that's what every foster family would be like. The Blairs, they were middle class, working class, taking in foster kids, good people, just good people. And I thought that's where I was going to be placed. But the setting question, I would have functioned better in the group home, I think, because as you point out, there's structure, boundaries. But the family environment is where I needed to be placed to learn how a family interacts, how people how the husband and wife communicate? How are the children treated? What are the boundaries? What does punishment look like? I didn't learn any of that. I learned it. It was just incredibly unhealthy. I learned from my mother the dysfunction. So what really the thing that changed the trajectory for my life, in my junior year of high school, I received a congressional scholarship to do a 1-year foreign exchange to Germany. And I lived with an incredible host family. And it was the mother, father, and they had a 5-year-old daughter at the time. And I got to see how a family functions, the engagement, the behavior. And I went from TBFH sitting on her floor, not being worthy of using her restroom, to having my own room and my own bathroom and being accepted and invited into a family environment where I was welcome and wanted. And I learned through that experience what a family is supposed to look like and how to behave and boundaries. That's where I learned it. And it should have been a foster home. But I thank God I was given that opportunity, because it taught me how to function in society, which I did not know how.
Yeah. Well, that's a major point, because so many, well, you said it earlier, there's so many that end up in prisons, that are in these group home settings. And I have brothers that have been through that foster care and, going to prisons, and these recidivist minds, if you will, come from the dysfunction that they've went through. And if there's no way to bring light to that activity to the individual, they may never actually get out of that. So finding the right setting for the individual is a real major portion of how we should be sending kids through the system. With that being said, how do they identify, or how do they place you? What are their identifying characteristics to place the individuals?
Sure. So going through Children's Protective Services, they do initially complete a psychiatric evaluation on the child. It's customary for the intake process for that to take place. And that's where any special emotional needs are identified. And that's where you kind of get stratified, if you will. The kids with the higher needs, emotional, physical, what have you, they get segregated versus the average foster kid. So my brother, for example, when we were taken in by my best friend's family in the 6th grade, he was only 4 years old. So he was able to go into the family and learn the rules and the behavior and the norms and what's accepted and what's not, because he was so young, and he thrived. And I am grateful to them, because they took him in, they did adopt him, and he was raised. He's now married, has a daughter of his own. He's doing very well in life. Unfortunately for me, though, I didn't fit in their upper middle class perfect world, and they got rid of me. They pushed me off onto my aunt and uncle, and I went to live with them. But the how are the kids placed? The group homes exist because there are just not enough foster homes, and there are, I don't know the percentages, but some individuals treat foster care, being a foster parent, as a vocation, as an occupation. They get as many children as they're legally allowed to have in whatever environment that they have. And that's their income. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, assuming that they have, healthy communication skills and provide a safe environment with boundaries. I think it is possible for foster parents to do it as a job, and for the kids to be okay. I do think that that's okay. If we got rid of all the foster parents who treated it as an occupation, my God, we'd have 10-15%, maybe less, of the existing. So you have to look at the child, but you also have to look at the environment that the child is being placed into. So the reality is the group home, in fact, when I lived with TBFH, my choices were a group home or stay there. That was it. I found out decades later that my aunt would have taken me back. But yeah, I was 13 years old when I went to live with my aunt. I was very emotionally damaged. I had been repeatedly abandoned in my life. So yeah, you have to look at the child and then the reality of the situation. I believe that a home setting, assuming all the things are in place and as it should be, is a better environment because that foster child doesn't know how to behave. They haven't been raised properly. They haven't been taught. They don't have boundaries. They don't understand social skills. These are things that they have to actively learn. And I don't know if therapy is par for the course, if you will, in regular foster care. But I had a therapist who came out every other week, who came to the home. So on one hand, I was receiving therapy and it was addressing my depression, my anxiety, my OCD tendencies. We were addressing those issues, but I was simultaneously being abused by the foster parent and her family, just dehumanized. And it's horrific what she did and how she managed to get away with it. She got away with it because there weren't any other choices. It was a group home, which, like I said, I lived in a shelter. I knew what living in a shelter would be like, or stay there. And that scholarship the congressional scholarship that I received, it saved me. It really saved me. I was willing to go to a country where I did not speak the language, where I did not know anyone. I was willing to do that rather than stay in that home. Like, I found an out for me. I remember when they were handing out the applications in my German 1 class, my intro to German class. The teacher was handing out the applications in the classroom, and at lunch I was filling in my application because I was applying. I knew that I saw an opportunity to get out of TBFH's home, and it ended up being so much of a blessing that that it changed the course of my life, I would be dead. If that had not occurred, I'd be dead. And it's not for lack of trying that I'm not dead. So.
Yeah. Well, the circumstances that you grew up in, it's a wonder that people do survive in the first place. And that's the remarkable thing that you're out here doing, is trying to tell people, I don't have the answers for everything, but I can tell you there's an end to this. And that's really major that you're out voicing this, because people need that hope. So, do you really think it's about funding when it comes to group homes? Like the foster care, do they have people come in and help the individuals? You said it's their only income. So that's like a business owner. They have the right to allocate funds where they see fit, but is it allocated in the proper ways? And are these things being determined in the right way?
No, it's not funded properly. And our caseworkers, the social workers out there, they're not paid enough. They're not paid a livable wage. The burnout is incredibly high. I think it's like 3 to 5 years max. And then they change professions. And it just boils down to our social safety net, is it has holes in it. It has major holes.
Yeah. Yeah, I see there's quite a few systematic failures.
One thing, if I may, my foster parent, TBFH, did not work for the state of Texas. She worked for a company that was for-profit, a for-profit company that contracted with the state of Texas. So they were a for-profit company trying to make money off of this and serving as, so TBFH reported to that company, not the state of Texas or the caseworker, but to a company. And I think that monetizing childcare, monetizing raising our children, it's a mistake. It's just fraught with problems that it's, yeah.
Well, if you're going to take it upon yourself to say, I'm here to provide the best for your child and take the child from the home, you'd better have that in mind, not profit, because it costs a lot of money to raise a child properly. So the mindset behind all of this, to do things for profit, is getting in the way of healthy families, values, setting structural boundaries. There's so much wrong with devaluing life and monetizing, just corralling the life. And that's what I'm witnessing and seeing the system do in many ways. And it's disheartening. And the only way to really get light shined upon these problems is to have conversations like this that we're having today. Is there anything else that you think that our listeners should understand about the way the system raises our children?
I feel like we've covered it well. We understand that the children are coming from completely dysfunctional environments. The state doesn't step in for a minor situation. there are rare instances where the state intervenes and it's not an appropriate situation, but the majority of the time, the children that are taken into care have experienced horrific abuse, and we are not getting them counseling and therapy and psychiatric appointments, and we are not ensuring that they take advantage of that tuition waiver and go on to vocational school or college. We're not ensuring that the foster parents should be foster parents, should be trusted with our children. Our children are our most precious resource, and we are squandering it. So.
Yes. I agree. I agree with that a lot. So the bottom line is we have people that are getting away with, or I don't want to, dehumanize the people that are helping, but there are some abusing that system and using it for profit. So I wish that if somebody out there listening to this, they can actually help, reach out. And the best people to find out the ins and outs are people like you, Adriene, because you've lived it. And I've often witnessed where they have congressional committees and the wrong people are being put on the committees. We really need to look at that, because that's where all of this is going to be settled, is through those committees. And it's got to be bipartisan, non-political, and it's got to be addressing the right issues aimed at a better life for all those children that have already suffered enough. That's
absolutely. I could not agree with you more.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you for sharing with us today. I think this is an important topic, and I think that with what you're doing, the book, all of your podcast speaking, it is going to touch people. So could you let people know how to find your book, get in touch with you, and get involved with you?
Absolutely. The book will be available on Amazon beginning March 17th, Amazon and all the usual book places. I'm presently trying to get placed in Barnes & Noble, hopefully. But Unbroken Caldwell. Unbroken Caldwell is my website. It's also my social handle. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And for any of the listeners, if you reach out to me through any of those mediums, I will respond. And I do see the submission forms from my website. So anyone who wants to get in touch, please, by all means, I am open to it. And my book launch, I am hosting a live stream. So Facebook live stream book launch on March 17th, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. So just a short reading, some trivia, some author Q&A, and free stuff. I'm going to have some giveaways.
That's always fun, and that's a good way to get people involved also. So I want to say thank you for being here today, and what you're doing is very fascinating and very needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, for having me. Again, it's a privilege to be here with your audience, with you. I'm honored. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Rain on Houston streets, warm like childhood memories. Whispered prayers and tangled sheets, echoes of desperate pleas. Ink stained and stray scars on the page, each line a battle fought, turning pain to righteous rage, redemption in each thought. I'm broken, rising from the ash of every fallen dream. Words like lanterns in the the dark, a guiding golden beam. For the wounded, tired, weak, who've lost their way back home, igniting every spark until the embers start to glow again. Stronger than the fall that tried to break your spine, light that can't be drowned by storms or passing time, stitching gold into the seams where all the fractures meet, phoenix in our dreams with fire beneath her wings. Weight of silence in the August heat, cicadas hum their tune, dawns go thread through broken night, arrives a moment too soon. Pages rustle like autumn leaves, truth laid bare and raw, hearts begin to beat again where fear had gripped before. Oh, the night was long, but morning comes with mercy in her hands. Every scar becomes a roadmap to where the healing stands. Unbroken, rising from the ash of every fallen dream. Words like lanterns in the dark, a guiding golden beam. For the wounded, tired, weak, who lost their way back home, igniting every spark until the embers start to grow again. Stronger than the fall that tried to break your spine, light that can't be drowned by storms or passing time, stitching gold into the seams where all the fractures meet, phoenix in our dreams with fire beneath the wings. Cracks let the light flood in like rivers after rain. Strength was there all along beneath the bruise and strain from shattered pieces. Mosaics form, each shot a story told. Whispered words become a song that turns the lead to gold. Through the wreckage, through the sorrow, you're still standing. See tomorrow. Unbroken, rising from the ash of every fallen dream. Words like lanterns in the dark, a guiding gold.